YouTube! Today we're traveling to Texas. To be more specific, Matador, Texas. Hopefully I said that correctly. We're going to be learning about the unexpected violent tornado. This video is by Tornado RTX? TRX. Tornado TRX. I can't believe I butchered that considering the fact I've watched so many of his videos. So, I'll have that in the description below, a link to the video and his channel. But without further ado, let's hop in here.
James LeDoux and his son Dylan are chasing a storm in rural Texas when it begins to produce a tornado. Closing in on the town of Matador, the two men watch as the monstrous tornado emerges from the rain and pulls right behind them. Little did they know, they were filming an unseasonably strong and deadly vortex.
They're in a bad spot.
It's a week prior, and residents of Matador, Texas are doing the usual rural Texan activities, tending to livestock, harvesting crops for the summer.
I said riding a bull, and there they are behind some cows. I was close.
And doing pretty much anything to beat the heat. A couple hundred miles away in Oklahoma, the National Weather Service is doing their typical duties as well.
Fixing to get hit by a massive tornado. More Oklahoma.
Monitoring weather models for ingredients that would create severe weather, and they've been pretty busy as multiple rounds of storms in the past weeks have affected the United States, dropping incessant tornadoes, hail, and wind. They identify that another strong storm system is preparing to impact the United States. Because of this, they highlight a risk area accordingly. The thing is, Matador, Texas is right here, away from any predicted storms. As the day draws closer, the National Weather Service hones in.
We've played these games before. Right, it brings me straight back to Cooksville. They were just outside of the projected area. And that's why I said in that video, like, even if you're close to it, be ready.
Then on the forecast, placing a 2% risk near the border of Colorado and Wyoming, almost 600 miles away from Matador. No one in or around the town is expecting any significant weather, much less a tornado. It's peak afternoon in Texas, and the sun is pushing a staggering 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Unbeknownst to locals, the sunny skies were actually a menacing sign. You see, as the sun heats up the air, the atmosphere builds up instability, or the potential energy for strong storms. Near Matador, the instability is reaching absurd amounts. For reference, the typical level of instability needed for storms is around 1,000 joules per kilogram, and by the afternoon, North Texas was pushing almost 6,000 joules per kilogram. This potential energy made the region a ticking time bomb, but a bomb is useless without a fuse, and that's what weather forecasters were banking on. I mean, there weren't even any storms around, and that's exactly when the first storm formed. Bits of rain begin to bubble up near Pampa, Texas, growing rapidly. More storms begin to pop up and immediately show signs of rotation on radar, almost as if some unseen force is powering them. They begin merging together into one much larger storm and are moving to the south, an unusual direction for thunderstorm motion. The storms continue to try and rotate, getting closer and closer with each frame, until suddenly a new storm bursts over Turkey, Texas, and in just a few seconds becomes the fastest rotating of the bunch. Without any warning, a funnel cloud descends from the sky. It's hardly visible before rain and
Here we go.
fog obscures it from view, but the tornado is absolutely strengthening. Storm chaser Russ Contreras approaches from the south, and with little time to spare, begins filming the tornado.
Oh, it's rain wrap, dude.
The tornado is
barely make it
actually
out.
visible here, and way larger than previously thought. Cranking the video's contrast, we can observe that it has
That's a big tornado, dude. Holy. Is that like the sheets of rain that it's picking up too? Look, rain wrap tornadoes are a disaster. But look how big that is.
transitioned into a strong wedge tornado buried in the rain. Its movement is slow, at less than 20 miles per hour. It's very slowly ripping any trees or grass that would get in its way. Luckily though, it's essentially dancing in an open field, away from anybody or anything. As if the visibility of the tornado wasn't bad enough, it begins to absorb more rain and become even hazier, making it completely invisible to anyone on the ground. At the same time, the track deviates slightly to the east. This is an indication that the tornado is occluding. A tornado occlusion is essentially when the storm decides to form a new area of rotation, and the old area, including the tornado, detaches from the main portion of the storm, ultimately dying. While this should be good news for the town of Matador, this occlusion is behaving in an incredibly dangerous way. The giant wedge tornado is now seen to be shrinking in width, but the energy is not dwindling. Just like an ice skater pulling their limbs closer inwards to spin faster, the shrinking has an added effect of making the tornado spin.
I would already throw up. There ain't no way. But that makes sense explaining the tornado. I could have went without watching that though.
And faster. Meteorologist Braden Barton and his friend are situated to the east of town, where the tornado can be seen entering the town from the south.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Big tornado.
Oh my god. Yeah, I can see it definitely on my phone.
Big tornado.
Oh my god.
Big tornado.
That is a big tornado.
That's it right there.
The radar. Oh, wait, did it turn?
No, it's heading straight for the town. That's it right in front of us.
Suddenly, the ground beneath the tornado begins to be stripped away. As the tornado becomes stronger and stronger, it's able to gouge the ground.
I've seen this so many times. Why is that? Like, you know, you'll have, like, obviously an already strong tornado or, you know, in some cases a weaker tornado. And then right before that thing hits town, it just goes pure evil. It goes from doing, like, F1, F2, and then it just ramps up right before it hits town and turns into, like, an F4, F5. It's...
Even scouring the top layer of soil, something only seen in some of the strongest possible tornadoes. Something is very different from what we saw just a few moments ago. The storm is also moving dangerously close to Matador and continues to shrink. In fact, the difference in winds is so extreme, a home just over 200 yards away is unscathed. Sadly, this would not be the case for other homes in the direct path, such as the Marshall family home, which was about to take a direct hit. The devastation to the property starts with the tree line to the north. Large oak trees and low-lying shrubbery are beyond shredded. Rather, they're violently mangled and torn out of the ground. Some are fully stripped of their bark. Next is the barn on the property, which is practically disintegrated, and a small stone outhouse is sheared to the ground. That's right, a pure stone structure is sheared away by just the winds. Sadly, the only thing left to hit is the home itself. As the Marshalls hide in the basement, the entire home is shredded above them. Cars are lifted into the air like toys, and they disappear into the funnel. In some miracle, they all survive, most likely due to being underground, but pretty much none.
We love to hear it. We love to hear it. The only true safe place, underground. Where did they go? Underground. We love to hear it. We love to hear it. I hate their home got destroyed, obviously, right? We don't like that. But they're alive. And that's a clean slab there, is it? Yeah. Dude, look at those cars took a beating. Dude, did that used to be a stove? Like, if you see the white truck, to the right, there's like a pile of debris, and at the very top, it looks, well, no. That's how you know you got a strong tornado. You can't even tell what, like, any of this is. It's just a mangled mess.
None of their property is as lucky. In fact, not even trees remain, as they are stripped out of their root systems and tossed off the property like it's nothing. If this couldn't get any wilder, portions of the concrete foundation and sidewalk are cracked and shifted. Basically, all that remains of the Marshalls' entire livelihood is the basement they hid in. The tornado is continuing towards Matador and still shredding the top layer of grass and soil. One of the Marshalls' cars is thrown to the ground here, with the tornado heaving it over 200 yards from its original location. Scientist and
That's
National
insane.
Weather Service employee James Ledoux and his son Dylan are chasing the storm and begin to drive south, noticing the funnel.
Why does James Ledoux sound familiar? What other tornado here recently have we heard that name? James Ledoux. Maybe he was on the news with one of these other tornadoes. I'm not sure. The name sounds super familiar though.
Is almost entirely wrapped in rain. As they situate themselves in the center of town, the rain slightly clears out. The twister is now dangerously close to the town, and it is only now that it is brushing the north edge and destroying homes that the local tornado sirens sound. From James's account, this only gave around 4 minutes of lead time to the approaching threat, which may have had implications to people affected later on.
Was they warned? Like, was they tornado warned earlier? Hopefully, they had a tornado warning like a decent amount ahead of time. But that seems to happen a lot too, with people like delaying the sirens until the party is getting started. I feel like those should be set off a little bit sooner, a little bit more soon. Because you're going to have people that are out enjoying their day and, they're not paying attention to the alerts on their phone. Maybe they're sitting down having dinner. Those tornado sirens start going off in town, though. I mean, there's no mistaking that.
Is this going into town?
It could be, or just...
A home, not even in the direct wind field, sees the effects of the funnel next. With solely 2 rooms left standing in the entire home, it dodges another home to the right, whose roof is ripped away, with the outhouse on the property sucked into the core of the tornado and shredded to bits. These chunks of the home leave divots in the ground as they are slammed down at violent speeds. The tornado is finished sparing homes now, as the house of Anthony Boyd is next. Anthony rushes down to a storm shelter he had put prior, most likely saving his life, as the tornado rips through his home. Once again, trees on the property are debarked, mangled, and denuded, and
Dude. It's a strong tornado, boys. That's a strong tornado. And once again, underground. Yeah, I talked to a lot of you that are, from Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, and I know several of you do some storm chasing. Underground, baby. And if you are one of those that are out there storm chasing, be safe.
hardly anything is spared on the property, including his blue pickup truck, which was completely lofted away. After the tornado passed, Anthony found he was trapped in a storm shelter, but remained hopeful that help would arrive. But when search and rescue officials came to his property and noticed there was no vehicle to be found, they assumed no one was home at the time.
Oh, no.
Anthony's friend had to free him, and after looking around, Anthony realized his truck was genuinely nowhere to be found. It wasn't until the next day that Anthony would discover his car half a mile away in an open field. This is what it looked like. In the
Those are cold chills, dude. Look at that. Boys, I don't even know what to say. Number one, we've covered that. We've looked at, Rainsville, Smithville, and all these tornadoes that have these feats of, picking up vehicles and then taking them long distances. Half a mile's crazy. Look, if it's able to pick up a vehicle and take it 50, 100 yards is crazy. Absolutely insane. This is half a mile. Half a mile. And look at it. It's almost like this tornado just slammed this thing on the ground, picked it back up, and repeatedly done this. Like, it's almost a basketball. It was dribbling this. This tornado was LeBron James. That's wicked, man. Absolutely wicked. I can't stop looking at it. That used to be a blue pickup truck. The only thing left is some blue. Whew, Lord. I'm glad that man got underground. I don't feel like it's going to stay that way through this video, though. I would like for it to. But yeah, guys, look. Hey. If you're questioning whether this tornado is strong or not, there you go.
Hundreds of recorded cases of tornado damage. This kind of vehicle mangling is practically unheard of, reserved only for the likes of some of the most violent tornadoes ever recorded.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true there too. We've seen, I've watched a lot. So since, starting the little tornado journey. And it's like, don't get me wrong. You see some like beat up vehicles. Heck, even just like a couple minutes ago on the people's property there, on his property, like the other vehicles were kind of, they were beat up. But, you could look at it and be like, oh, okay, it got hit with some debris, probably got flipped over, busted windshields, a lot of dent damage. Get it. And then there's this. That's just a whole different level.
And it gets crazier, as it was discovered the entire engine of the truck was missing. Later, it was found to have been tossed into a nearby lake in the opposite direction. James and Dylan are now driving perpendicular to the vortex, which is beelining directly for them. The tornado barely fits in Dylan's frame.
What's that? I think my camera sees it. Wait. It's right there, Dad. Guys, right there.
Yeah,
go.
I see it.
Holy shit. Go.
As they turn to escape south, their dash cam captures the monster tornado directly behind them.
Classic tale of going from hunting to being hunted. And to my storm chasers out there, this is what I'm talking about. Be safe. Be safe.
Yep, I see it.
Oh my God.
Yep.
The tornado is continuing to the south and now approaching
Wait a
the
minute, hold
intersection of
You all see that truck right there, right? That was leaving the gas station. I can see it now. Right? You're over there. You just got some gas. You went in. You got you a drink. You walk out, and you see that, and it's the whole fight or flight mode. And it's like, I'm out. But I'm kind of worried for that individual though, because like, they're probably now 50 yards plus past that gas station, and it looks like it's bearing down on them. And this dude's just now pulling out.
The tornado is continuing to
Oh,
the south
no.
and now approaching the intersection of Highway 62 and Highway 70, where multiple homes and businesses are set up. The devastation is about to worsen. In the direct path, the home of Matador's mayor, Devana Grundy, sits. The property consists of 6 separate structures, including the main home, pool, and outbuildings for farming. In a split second, every single building would be gone, with hardly any debris left over. 2 homes to the south of Grundy's were reduced to bits as well. Remarkably, others' homes, just 50 yards away, are completely fine, with the worst damage being to shingles on the roofs. The vortex was tightening up to an extremely intense and sharp core.
We talked about this in the last 2 videos of how wild it is. that, you'll have one section, a row of houses just absolutely obliterated. And then you can look right across the road. And for the most part, everything's perfectly fine. And, of course that has to happen at some point, right? But, when it's that close to, you look across, you see your neighbor, you could throw a rock and hit their house. And their house is just perfectly fine.
Another home is hit to the south with nothing left. The slab is basically swept clean. Approaching Highway 62, actual businesses are now in the firing line. A small industrial storage building is shredded away, littering the scene with sheet metal and shrapnel. As the core crosses the highway, chunks of the asphalt are ripped out of the ground, and dirt and debris is embedded into the pavement. Unfortunately, the Matador tornado would claim its first life in this location. 59-year-old Randy Rowland, a semi-truck driver from Oklahoma, was taking cover inside his truck in the parking lot of a gas station right off the highway when suddenly his truck was violently lofted and slammed back into the ground across the street. The truck was left completely gutted in the process, and Randy was ejected from the vehicle. After attempting to stand up, Randy fell back to the ground, and sadly, he passed away in an ambulance en route to the hospital. Randy was described as a great husband, father, brother, and a great friend to everyone who will forever slammed back into the ground across the street. The truck was left completely gutted in the
Number one, R.I.P. to him. We never like hearing about that. Number two, for it to do that to an 18-wheeler or, a semi-truck, whatever you want to call it. Like the cab of that is destroyed. Is the engine in there? It looks like it, yeah. But my goodness.
process, and Randy was ejected from the vehicle. After attempting to stand up, Randy fell back to the ground, and sadly, he passed away in an ambulance en route to the hospital. Randy was described as a great husband, father, brother, and a great friend to everyone who will forever be missed. Nearby, two men, Troy Hernandez and Victor Valenzuela, were stationed in a small work RV as part of a job nearby Matador. With no place to go, the trailer was lifted as well, with the two men in it, and slammed into a nearby home. Both men passed away as well. They were
R.I.P., man. Hey, look, guys. If you're in a mobile home, an RV, and you're in the path of almost any tornado, try to find somewhere else to go. We don't know the full story on this. These guys could have, they could have been working second shift, third shift, something like that, and they could have been just, resting. They could have been asleep. We don't have a clue. And that's the importance of the tornado sirens. Right, so that little heads up that 4 minutes out thing, that can play a role. That can play a role. Because, like I said, we don't know what these guys were doing. They could have been working a weird work shift, and just been asleep and not have a clue. Or have adequate time to react. But, if you're in a situation and you have time, get out of there. Go, go try to find a business or something. Hey, I'm just saying, like, there are the refrigerating places in, like, these stores seem to hold up really well. Or, there might be somebody that lives close by, kind of weird, I know. But, if that's your only option, I would knock and just be like, hey, I'll keep my hands on top of my head if you'll just let me, like, hide in your house for a minute until this storm passes. Yeah, something, or heck, you never know, they might have a underground shelter.
described as wonderful individuals to be around and to work with. The home their RV impacted did not survive either, being completely wiped away. A storm shelter on the property likely saved the homeowners' lives, but the worst damage of all on the highway had to be the brand new Dollar General location. Built just a couple months prior, the structure was completely flattened. Portions of the support beams that were anchored and drilled into the concrete slab were bent and yanked out. The strangest part of this location, though, were the rebar reinforced concrete bollards surrounding the building. Somehow, the tornado was able to snap the solid
Wow. That's insane. I just want to say this, though. We know how dollar stores are. They'll have one up tomorrow. But that there is insane.
concrete and metal at the base. One can only imagine the winds required for something like that to occur. The last structure to be impacted along the highway was actually the town's electrical substation, sustaining EF3 damage to the main portion of the station. The scene from above looked like a bomb was dropped on the road, with incredibly prolific damage and death at the location of the highway. Somewhere along the path of damage, multiple vehicles were picked up and mangled beyond recognition.
Thank goodness that this tornado didn't go further east. Look at that. It's a highly populated area.
Found in a pond was another truck engine. It belonged to an unrecognizable ball of steel in the
Another one. I wonder what rating they gave this tornado. Because, I mean, this thing's picking up vehicles and, like, carrying them all over the place. Ripping the vehicle apart. Mangled mess.
in the pond, which was wrapped around another used-to-be vehicle southeast.
What? It did. Oh, my God. Okay.
The pond is the home of Joe and Dale Bumgardner. They are about to sustain another direct impact. Sadly, with nowhere else to go in the time that the sirens went off, they decided to hide in the most interior room of their home, but no structure could protect the two from such a violent tornado, as the entire home is wiped away. Storm chasers Val and Amy Castor quickly flip from chase mode to search and rescue as they stumble upon the mess that used to be the home of the Bumgardners. While they were able to rescue Dale from the rubble, Joe, on the other hand, would not make it. Joe was a member of multiple organizations, taught in the school system for 27 years, and was described as loving, especially to the young people of the area. Her nickname was Nana Joe. She loved her life and the people of Matador. After the home, the tornado began to shrink faster. It impacted the radio tower, sending it crumbling to the ground, as well as completely demolishing one last home before dissipating in an open field. James and Dylan capture the tornado roping out before finally disappearing into nothing once again.
I'm gonna get roping out now.
What a picture.
As rescue teams and weather enthusiasts alike began streaming into the area, the sheer strength of the tornado was realized. Large mesquite trees, some of the strongest in the world, were debarked, sanded, and mangled like toothpicks. Vehicles were tossed like toys, and homes were completely slapped. But not all was lost. Initially, the tornado had aimed directly for the center of town, where hundreds of homes and businesses stood. Though, even by just sideswiping the area, the death and devastation remained. Surveyors from the National Weather Service and Texas Wind Institute settled on an EF3 rating for the town. This caused a lot of controversy, as some claimed it was a gross underestimate of such a violent tornado. But more importantly was the issue of the sirens and why they didn't go off until the tornado was well into town. Maybe if the sirens sounded earlier, there would have been more time for the affected to find appropriate shelter, as multiple storm shelters were in Matador. There are also multiple questions to be asked about how the entire risk area was missed. At the very last second, the National Weather Service did upgrade to a small 5% risk around Matador, but that was essentially after the tornado was on the ground. Whatever the case may be, the Matador tornado.
Yo, this just goes to show you, man. You know, nothing's perfect. The science here isn't going to be perfect for the meteorologists trying to predict these storms. Stuff happens, man. Some of these storms just come out of left field. So, you know, if you live in, you know, these hot spots for tornadoes, you know, just always keep that in the back of your head. You know, and they need to figure out the issue with the sirens, for sure. And on top of that, if you are You know, if you see an at-risk zone close to you, go ahead and get prepared for it, man. Just in case. Worst case scenario, you double checked and made sure you knew you had a little tornado bag, or, you know, maybe you go ahead and go to a friend's house that has a sturdier house or an underground shelter. You get the idea. An EF3 rating on this tornado seems insane. How many times did it pick up vehicles, turn them into a basketball, and throw the engine over here in the lake 200 yards away, carry the cars hundreds, if not half a mile down the road, and launch them? It done what it did to the semi truck. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the damage to the homes didn't reach that point. That could be the case. Maybe that's what they were primarily focused on. That could have been it. But just looking at those trucks, holy moly. Thank you to whoever recommended this one. I don't have the name readily available. I apologize, but you know who you are, and I appreciate you. That is insane. I just, in my head, it's like, man, it has to be at least an EF4 for what it was doing to me, you know. But, you know, I'm not these guys. These people are trained in what to look for and stuff, so I ain't going to go on too much of a tangent about that because, you know, at the end of the day, I really don't know what the heck I'm talking about, right? Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? What rating would you have given the Matador, Texas tornado? Me, I'm going at least EF4. The way it done the trucks and cars, and even the Dollar General there, you had those two concrete posts, steel reinforced at the bottom, snapped. You know, do I think wind blew it over? No, I'm sure that was done more likely by heavy debris getting launched into it, but nonetheless, that tornado had to produce strong enough force to slam items into that to cause that damage. Absolutely insane. And I still can't get over that what used to be a blue truck. That blows my mind. It's just absolutely insane. Ripped the engine out, threw it in a lake. Oh, man. Yeah, they need to get those tornado sirens fixed. Need to get them fixed. All right, guys. I am cheap. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and all that good jazz. We'll catch you in the next one.